Okay, good morning to everyone. And actually, I will add a greeting of peace. Om Shanti. I'm very honored to give this talk today, and we are at a critical juncture in the negotiations, but also we're at a critical point for our whole environment. And the voice of faith is very, very relevant, very important, and it needs to be listened to more than it is. And we are trying to raise our voice as loud as we can. And of course, the faith communities draw attention to the spiritual dimension, draw attention to justice. Today, we know this is the COP of finance, and the greatest injustice is happening because the richer nations, who we know have caused so much of the environmental crisis, those nations are offering funds to the poorer nations, but they're offering them as interest-bearing loans. And I don't know what greater injustice there is. It's a continual exploitation of the poorer nations. And whether it's interest or whether a demand to actually employ companies and firms from the north to work in the south. So on every level, it's an injustice. And the government, the president of Colombia at the CBD, I was there in Colombia in October, he talked a lot about this and how the foundation of everything is greed. He said, okay, they want to charge us interest because they say we are a risk. And then he said, it's the rich nations which are the real risk. And I absolutely agree. So there cannot be justice while there's still loans being offered. The other point I would like to make is that it's very important for us to bring the different COP conferences together. We are actually in one environmental crisis, and we can definitely learn from each other. So, for example, the COP on biodiversity now has had before an official advisory body of scientists, but in Colombia last month, it was a great breakthrough that there is now a subsidiary body, which is an official advisory body of the indigenous communities and local communities. And so that means the governments have to listen. And I would like to see the day when we come together. Desertification, biodiversity loss, climate change cannot be separated, actually. But when we come together and we say, rather than this is a finance COP, that this is a listening COP, where the governments actually listen to the voices of the constituency and the people. But I'm also aware that COP is very high stress for people. High stress for the individuals, the NGOs, the people taking part, the organizers. And we must remember it's high stress for the negotiators too. And sometimes we lose sight of that. And I would like to talk about how it is that we really take care of ourselves, we take care of our family, our colleagues, we take care of the negotiators, we take care of those who are leading us. And and I can see certainly that many people are feeling quite despondent, in a state of despair. And there was something that I heard in one of the high-level segments, and I can't remember who said it, but they made this statement, despair is not a strategy. And that really hit home. And when I've repeated that to people, they've kind of woken up and said, okay, there's something more that I have to do. If I'm going to make despair not a strategy for me and the others around me, then I have to be able to stay above the many influences around me that push me and pull me and push and pull everybody here into different directions. The boat must not sink. I often like to take this analogy that life is like an ocean, and we are all boats navigating in the ocean, but it's important that the boat is in the water, but the water doesn't come in the boat. And actually, at the present time, a lot of boats are filled with water. There's a lot of pressure. And we have to remain aware that we are all interconnected. And what happens to the least of us, I don't like that word, but I think you know what I mean, happens to all of us, and vice versa. And so it's very important to understand that. I think most people would have remember this chaos theory, that when a butterfly flaps its wings in Europe, there's a hurricane in South America. Well, I was thinking this morning, we've moved from chaos theory to chaos reality. It's really happening. It's important that, and we also know, it's a spiritual law, that what is within is reflected without. And if we see the state of the world at the moment, it tells us a lot about human consciousness. There's a lot we have to fix inside. And I think, as you know, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done to yourself. And this applies to all faiths. And this is a principle that we need to underline very much. In terms of our consciousness and our attitude and our awareness, we need to move from greed to generosity, from fear to trust, from anger to love. Doesn't mean we're inactive, but our activism is fueled by the highest values, and it can therefore become much more effective. It won't put up people's defenses. It's very important that we continue to keep our daily spiritual practice strong, whether it's prayer, meditation, and so on. And if we don't have a daily practice, I would say that every single person needs one. We start the day here with a spiritual practice, and in several other sites actually, because we have to build up our inner resilience, and that means having access to our inner resources. Each of us actually has an original state of peace that has got lost by all the influences, but it is actually part of us. Peace, love, and wisdom are part of the original qualities of the being, I would say of the soul. We have become very lost in our material identities, very lost in the external, in materialism. But when we come back to who we really are, then many things change. And these qualities from the inside actually impact our values, then impact our choices, impact our decision making. And it's so important to have access to our inner wisdom, because that is really our conscience and our guide. It seems that many consciences have gone to sleep at the moment. Conscience has to awaken. Once you awaken the conscience, you awaken the heart, there's no going back. And I was with a group of religious leaders just in July, and there was a very significant saying one of them said. He said, "The mind can justify evil, but the heart cannot." It's important that we listen to our heart. And when we are able to use the dimension of faith and spirituality to make us more internal in understanding and valuing ourselves and valuing the conscience and valuing what our inner feelings are telling us, then our worldview begins to change. And instead of a worldview that might only see the interests of a few, of a small group of people, a community, a nation, and so on, a region, we begin to see the whole world as our family. And this worldview is the worldview of true compassion. If I treat one group in one way, another group in another way, then I am not expressing the compassion that comes from the love, which is the original quality of the soul. We have to move away from our influence and our dependency. And at first it may feel difficult, but you know, when you really listen to your heart and there's alignment between your head and your heart, it's not that your mind is saying one thing, your heart is saying another, your actions may say a third thing. There's discomfort inside, but when there's alignment, there's ease inside. And this is a very important thing to realize. And of course, within the dimension of faith, there's the importance of the connection with a higher power, a higher source, because really there needs to be a very new energy in our world. The energy of fear and chaos is not serving us. And in fact, it's taking us in a downward spiral. We need an ascending energy, and this comes from our awareness of our original selves and our awareness of our connection with that higher power. A lot is going to come in front of us that we have to face. We need inner strength, we need resilience, we need clarity, we need courage. And so it's really time for us to show that courage to really follow what we know is right. And so I would really ask all of you, all of us, including myself for sure, to have that daily practice where you get in touch with something deeper in yourself and you're able to then carry that through into your day. And that will create an atmosphere which will touch the hearts of others. Sometimes words just don't work, but an atmosphere from an attitude of good feelings, good wishes, love, and a divine connection, that can really work magic. So I hope that we will be able to bring in the spiritual and faith dimension as a very strong voice, equal, if not more equal to the other voices, and we will be able to together create a flourishing earth again for all living beings. Thank you. Om Shanti. Thank you.